I used to work as an aide and companion for an elderly woman who resided at an independent living facility. My job was super easy. I worked overnight while we both usually just slept, and I got paid decently for it. The day came without much of a warning when the facility had to shut down. My client moved far out of state with extended family, and I was suddenly without a good chunk of my income. I still had my waitressing job, but that wasn't nearly enough to get me by. I began asking around for referrals, and it didn't take long before a coworker helped me find a replacement client. She told me a new guy at her gym was looking for someone to watch his mother some evening so he could have some free time. I was rather reluctant to work in a stranger's house, but when I heard how much he was paying and remembered all of the bills sitting home on my desk, I accepted. The house was in a posh neighborhood. Large houses, even larger wraparound lawns. Super quiet. It looked like a safe place to live. I liked arriving early when meeting for new assignments. Me and the family could talk, ask questions, and get a better feel for one another. So I was surprised when I arrived 20 minutes before my report time, and the man was already rushing out of the door. He gave me the line about making myself at home. He said I could help myself to anything in the fridge and to any of the booze in the cabinets. He said my hardest task would likely be to find something good to watch on TV. His mother was already in the bed for the night and would only need me if she had an emergency. Sounded easy. He didn't stay long enough to give me the tour. I guess it was up to me to find the bathroom. I stepped inside the living room, plopped down on the sofa, and grabbed the remote. As soon as the TV powered up, I noticed a shadow projected onto the wall above my head. It moved across the upstairs hallway and then disappeared behind the sound of a closing door. I guess she went to the bathroom, I thought to myself. I must have flipped through all of the channels a handful of times. I couldn't find anything worth watching, so I decided to see what was in the fridge. I opened the refrigerator door and was disappointed. There were small bits of random food items in containers tossed all around the shelves. Nothing that even resembled a snack. And as far as beverages, just a near empty jug of milk and a half of a case of beer. I hate beer. As I was disgustingly staring at the fridge's contents, my car alarm started going off outside. I rushed to my keys and went outside to cut it off. Nothing seemed to be wrong, so I went back inside. Once again, when I walked in, I heard a door close upstairs. I sat back down on the couch and started flipping through channels again. After a moment, my phone started ringing from inside the kitchen. I must have left it behind when I went to the fridge. I made it to my phone too late and it had stopped ringing. I checked the missed call. It came from an odd series of numbers, probably a telemarketer. But since I was back in the kitchen, I told myself I might as well have a look at the liquor stash. I opened all of the cabinets. The only thing I found was a bottle of rum with maybe a shot left. What a letdown. Before I could make it back out of the kitchen, my car alarm went off again. I hurried back to my keys. Walking through the house this time, I'm pretty sure I heard footsteps running back up the stairs. I grabbed my keys and went back outside. The exterior of the house was well lit. I checked around my car and again couldn't find the reason my alarm sounded. I decided I would drive to the store to get myself a few snacks. I hopped in my car, started the engine, then realized I had left my phone behind once again. I went back inside the house and looked for it, all over the living room and the kitchen. I even opened up all the cabinets again. Sure enough, while I was searching, my car alarm began blaring once more. When I got back outside, a neighbor across the street was outside on her porch. As I checked on my car for a third time, she began walking across the street toward me. She asked if my car had a problem with the wiring system. I told her I never had any issues before, but something apparently needed to be checked out. I asked her if she had her phone on her and if I could borrow it to call mine. She handed her phone to me and I went back inside and dialed my number. Before I could hear it ring anywhere in the house, someone answered. They didn't say anything. They just breathed into the phone. I didn't say anything either. I went back outside and told the lady what was happening. She said she didn't want to get into my business, but that if I was romantically interested in the guy who lived here, to be extra careful because he seemed very strange to her and other neighbors. I assured her that wasn't the case and told her that I was just there to sit for his mother. She in turn stared at me with a puzzled look on her face. She said that the man had told her his mother passed a short while before he moved in. I was starting to feel sick to my stomach. I had no clue where my phone was, and the neighbor didn't have the man's number, so I couldn't call him. She suggested we call the police, and I agreed. She sat and waited with me on her front porch. When the officers arrived on scene, they basically said since it wasn't my residence, and since no crime was being reported, the only thing they could do was accompany me back inside the house to help me locate my phone. I felt comfortable enough going back inside with their escort. I called my phone again and heard it ringing. It was sitting at the top of the staircase on the second floor. One of the officers retrieved it for me and handed it to me. He yelled out to anyone else potentially inside the house. No one responded. I called the client's phone to tell him what was happening and to tell him that I was leaving immediately. When I informed him the police were there, he quickly hung up. I called him back, but I assumed he must have turned his phone off. It kept going directly to his voicemail. My coworker says she never saw him at the gym or anywhere else after that day. I've never been back on that street since. I still get uneasy thinking about who or what was upstairs that night. Oddly enough, I've never had any trouble out of my car alarm again after that. It was almost like it was telling me something that night. 124,000 miles, and me and my friend are still riding strong.